Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. And a lot of weird shit. Roll to seize!
Welcome to Roll to Seize. This is episode 5. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host and Warhammer enthusiast, Andrew Dickinger.
Hello, hello.
Andrew, it is that time of year where one gathers and eats dead birds and...
Wow, that got metal really quick.
Got real metal.
That's brutal.
That's pretty much... Everyone, I'm glad you could all be here so we could eat dead birds. Now please sit.
Is it wrong that, the first dead bird image that came into my head was, dead crows, and I just imagined people over a dinner table eating a bunch of dead crows?
You know, it's funny you ask that, or bring that up, because I was just about to ask you, what do you think Thanksgiving is like in the Grimdark? See, as now it is Friday, Thanksgiving was yesterday, and what do you think the celebration was like?
Grimdark Thanksgiving celebration. Well, let's see. Who comes to the table?
Okay, so do the Primarchs have, a Thanksgiving? How does that family get back together?
That's some serious family tension.
Who would be the families that would get together on a Warhammer Thanksgiving?
I guess if it was per race, you'd think the Imperium, they probably have all their houses and stuff
all their
like
houses
that.
are gonna have it.
And they probably all hate each other.
Grimnar's gonna throw a pretty sweet bash.
Logan's,
yeah.
Well, he is Santa Claus. I think he's more prepping for the holidays.
That's true. Logan Grimnar as token Santa Claus in the Grimdark universe is
He has
prepping.
a sleigh.
He does.
He goes into combat screaming, ho, ho, ho.
He is absolutely a Santa Claus. So who else would it be? I guess we've got... the Primarchs, are there any still around?
Well, I mean, most of them have fallen into ambiguity.
Right.
I think the only one that, they know where he's at is Robout Gilliman, the Ultramarines Primarch. He's just, frozen. He's he's Captain America, basically.
So they roll him up to the table in his big ice block. And
it's look, Grandpa!
He never has anything to say. Shut up, Grandpa.
And I guess, it's actually, just a dead people table. I mean, you have, basically frozen Robout Gilliman.
The Emperor is a dead
He's a husk.
Right?
He's a husk of a person.
Oh, man.
Hooked up to a giant throne thing.
Imperium Thanksgiving is really disgusting.
I don't know if they'd actually eat anything.
Just a bunch of ghost bodies. It's just a bunch of dreadnoughts just walking up because they're all just barely alive.
Actually, now that I think about it, I really don't know if Space Marines actually eat food.
You know, I haven't seen any pictures of it.
I haven't ever heard anything of them having to eat.
This is a good question. We need to put some feelers out there to Games Workshop. Are there any depictions or any of the fluff where they actually talk about a Space Marine eating?
Feasting Space Marines.
They just feast on battle, man. They just get so pumped up and they just forget to eat all day, every day.
I mean, maybe if they didn't normally have to eat, you'd think that at least the Space Wolves would eat because they're damn Space Vikings. Yeah. They have to have banquets.
Mead and giant legs of whatever monsters live on their planet.
Yeah, I mean, they probably can drink a barrel of ale each.
Yeah.
Easily.
The Thanksgiving fights there get pretty intense.
Yeah, I would assume so, but I mean it's not a Space Wolf Thanksgiving without a fight. I mean, come on.
Oh, absolutely not. Well, guys, I hope your Thanksgiving was as fun and exciting as a Primarch Thanksgiving.
Oh. I don't know if those are the proper words.
No, probably not the proper words. So, guys, like we kick off every episode, we start with our Seizes of the Month, where Andrew and I are going to talk about one specific area where in this past month in a game we might have kind of completely screwed the pooch on a area of the game or a decision or a tactical
and we do it often.
Choice. Yeah, we do it quite often. So Andrew, please kick us off.
All right, so I'm going to go first. I'll just say this. The last tournament I was in was a crapshoot. I pretty much shot myself in the foot in every game. Now, granted...
Very painful, by the way. He brought the gun. It was very unorthodox, but...
I mean, he was saying, just go little pellet gun, but I was like, you gotta go. You gotta do it the right way.
I'm gonna shoot myself in the foot. I'm going all the way.
It's gotta be a real gun.
We had to get a lot of drugs in there to keep him up, a lot of adrenaline, but he made it through. All of them. Pretty impressive.
But yeah, so essentially, my first game, the dice did go badly, which it's a dice game. The dice can just go badly.
It can.
But I also made a huge tactical error. Okay, so I got challenged. Occasionally, the gaming club that we're a part of allows people, it's actually a pretty new thing.
Yeah.
But it allows people to call challenges to other opponents. Just, if you haven't ever played against somebody, which has happened.
Yeah, there's enough people and how they line up.
Yeah. Or if you just haven't played against somebody in a long time and we're like, hey, I call challenge. You're an asshole. Fight me.
Accepted. And as you know, if you don't accept the challenge, you have to stand out of the tournament for the whole rest of the round.
Well, you have to stand there, literally stand, not like figuratively stand out of the tournament. Like,
look,
you actually have
this
to
tournament
stand.
applies Warhammer rules to real life, guys. You don't accept a challenge, you just dick around.
Exactly. I had never played against this guy before, even though sort of friends with him and everything. And, so he calls me out. He's using I would say, semi-competitive Eldar list.
Okay.
He's got a Wraith Knight.
No wave serpents, right?
He had only 3 wave serpents.
Only 3? Okay.
But 3 is right at that razor's edge cusp
right there.
of being like, are you an asshole or
I'm a
aren't
wave
you?
serpent apologist, so, I use wave serpents, but it's just like, what else am I going to use? Falcons? Come on, guys. I'm not going to use falcons.
You also sit on that 3 wave serpent edge where it's like, if I take the 4th, I'm kind of an asshole.
It's true. If you take the 4th, it's like, all right.
So it wasn't, fully optimized. It was definitely more fun, but Eldar is just a top tier army right now, so most of what they have is good. Or what people take, at least, is good.
Right.
So
Look, you could run a whole Banshee army, and that would tank pretty hard.
It would not go well. You could also decide to do nothing but Storm Guardians, which would also probably have terrible
Storm
results.
Guardians and Banshees in Wave Serpents, all close combat units that can't assault as they move out of a vehicle.
Exactly.
Pretty impressive.
His only real out there unit was Swooping Hawks, which actually surprisingly aren't as bad as I thought they were.
I know you were talking about it, and he loves them sweeping Hawks. They do pretty well for him.
One thing I didn't realize, I think one of the reasons that you and I overwrote them is that, we see the strength 3 guns and we're like, last guns, like how could...
Yeah, lasers.
But the thing is that, they are 3 shots apiece, and unlike the last codex, they are BS4 now, so they actually do hit quite a few shots.
They do.
So that's not bad, but really it's the grenade pack. It's them coming in and dropping a large blast that's just like, it's annoying. So I got first turn in this game, knowing that I was going first. I'm using a sort of alpha strike army, but I don't really have much in the way of anti-tank.
Okay.
I only have a few anti-tank units, so it's kind of just like... I
hope they don't have a lot of tanks.
Yeah, if it's mostly organic, it's just that many sniper drones. I use Enva and all this crazy stuff.
If you were fighting Storm Guardians and Banshees, it would just be the best day ever.
It would just be
That's what you're
Christmas.
Damn it.
But him knowing that I was going first, he just deploys his vehicles, the things I can't touch essentially, which is just his wave serpents. And I think he also deployed a jet bike squad or his Banshees or not the Banshees. You got me confused about Banshees.
I'm incepting Banshees in everyone's mind right now. I don't know why I bought these things. Damn you, roll the seas.
Not Banshees, his Swooping Hawks. He started them on the board as well so he could sky leap to jump them off and put them in ongoing so they come in automatically. But on my warlord trait, this is where I screwed up big. I had the chance to disable one, if not all of his wave serpents with my very limited anti-tank, because my first warlord trait role was Master of Ambush.
Oh.
Which allows my warlord and 3 other units to infiltrate, which means I could have put all of my Melta squads in infiltrate range right next to his wave serpents. And just taken them right off the board from the very start. And I decided, I was like, I'm not going to infiltrate anything. Boop, 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 boop. And it was just it was also hammer and anvil. So
this, of course, was after he shot himself in the foot. So he's losing blood. He was being very woozy. A lot of poor decisions were made.
A little dizzy, wasn't thinking straight. I was like, ow, my foot hurts. So I decided to re-roll it and end up getting something totally useless. And then didn't realize until after I started my first turn, I was just like, I'm a fucking idiot. So yeah, the match did not go well.
Yeah.
I had literally nothing to shoot for basically 2 turns, and then he came in with everything and almost blew me off the board by 3rd turn.
Oof.
So yeah, it didn't go so well.
That's brutal.
But that's my C's. What about you, Jay?
All right. So my C's for the month is I again was playing with my Eldar, and this time
you're playing Eldar.
I was, yeah.
I mean, that's unusual.
That's very unusual, right? It was my Banshee and Storm Guardian list. No, can you guess what was wrong with it? So it was my standard list, and I was running 2 Dark Reapers in it because Dark Reapers are great.
Oh, they're excellent.
And I was playing a Space Marine Red Scorpion army, the first time I had ever played them before. And my opponent I was playing was running Land Speeders.
Oh,
So-
I remember this guy's army.
Yeah. So he had 4 land speeders and a bunch of scouts and things like that. And, well, at the beginning of a game, you exchange lists. What's in your army? What's in your army? So on and so forth. I kind of glanced over his list. I was like, Space Marines. There's going to be a drop pod. There's going to be this. There's that. I kind of get an idea. There's Centurions. I get it. So I think I got this. So I handed him the list back. Didn't look closely. Will this come in later? We'll find out. So he gets first turn, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going second, so I want to hide my guys. And I know he's going to drop pod in with his Meltas, so I'm going to basically leave everything off the board because, it's fine. I just hide my Dark Reapers. I put them in these these ruins. They were basically non-visible from anybody, even his drop pods. He wasn't going to be able to get at them because they were, I guess, too close to the edge.
Yeah, and I mean, you can move and fire with Reapers, so that's not a bad thing to do.
Yeah, and I was like, the only thing that's going to be close to these guys are the drop pod Space Marines, and it's just one drop pod. All he's got are these land speeders and some Centurion guys that are just walking on in the background and a bunch of librarians. Who cares, right? They're never going to get to me. By second turn, at the bottom of 2, when my things come in, I've got Warp Spiders deep striking in, I've got Wave Serpents just coming in onto the board. It's going to be great. I'm going to blow a lot of stuff up. Boy, was I incorrect, because, as I had mentioned earlier, will it come back? It did. I didn't read close enough, but his land speeders all had scouts in them. They were, I didn't realize this actually, which is so strange. I've played against Space Marines for years.
They're scout speeders, right?
They're scout speeders, yeah.
So they have the scout
They have
special
scout
rule.
and infiltrate. I didn't know about this. And they had guys inside. I'd never seen this done before. I was a bit taken aback.
So then, I actually am confused. Are you able to infiltrate and then do a scout move as well?
I believe so. That's what happened. Because, so it's first turn. He sets everything up. I set up my guys. I put my Dark Reapers in there, in their little spot they're hiding. I'm like, perfect. I'll just shoot some land speeders next turn, or I'll shoot that drop pod that comes in. No problem. Turns out he scouts and infiltrates all 4 of his land speeders right up next to my Dark Reapers. And boy, did the first turn not go well, because since they were that close, which I didn't expect, they come in, flamethrowers, just guys shooting out of the vehicle, just almost decimated my entire Dark Reaper squad. And again, I chose to go second. I don't think I mentioned this before as well. I chose to go second here. He's going first, but I chose to go second. So it was a tactical game. I just figured I'd have an advantage there.
I believe was this game 2 or game 1?
This was game 2.
This was game 2. Oh, so this was it was Maelstrom objectives. So going second is not a bad thing because that gives you the chance to get last minute objective grabs.
Exactly.
And stuff like that.
So I was like, all right. So all this combination of not looking at his list, choosing to go second. Turn 1, he goes first, scouts and infiltrates, comes up and just burns down almost barely any units on the board. My turn, I have barely enough guys to return fire. I'm kind of like running and hiding at this point. Then he has a whole nother turn before any of my stuff comes in. So basically, because I didn't read close enough to take a look at scout and infiltrate, he had 2 full turns to burn down a minimal amount of guys on the board, and it almost completely lost me the game. I mean, it crippled me pretty bad, and I ended up losing that game, but that was a huge error on my part.
Well, if his rolls had gone better and your rolls had gone further south, he could have just tabled you right off the bat.
He could have tailed me right off the bat because I did not read close enough with the land speeders and the scout and the infiltrate. It was pretty rough.
So what you're trying to say is it's important to read your opponent's list and not just take his word for it.
Yeah, guys, as much as, these days you might see cookie cutter lists, or you might have played an army a certain amount of times, and you're like, I got this, I know how this stuff works. Warhammer is just filled with so many different rules and collaborations and different add-ons and formations that you really got to be sure what you're going against before you start rolling those dice.
Well, yeah, especially with the integration of like Forge World and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you wouldn't necessarily read about just going through the normal Games Workshop channels.
Oh, absolutely. So, guys, please please read before you go into a game. So that was my Season of the Month. So I believe that's going to take us into our Brown Library segment. Let's find out what Greg's up to. All right. Well, it's pretty festive in here. I see Greg was cleaning up from his own dinner, Thanksgiving treats. Who does he invite here?
I don't know. I kind of see like food all over the floor in places and some on the ceiling, and I'm kind of like, what are you feeding?
There's some like weird, festive, colorful. Oh, you know what it is? It's Harlequins. Greg's always having Harlequins over here.
I think there may have been demons involved as well. Maybe that's why there's stuff everywhere.
That might be it.
Did he really invite Harlequins and demons to the same party?
Greg, you are one crazy baller, Greg.
Silly Greg.
You crazy man. He's giving me a weird look, Andrew. We better
all right, let's get to it. All right, so this month from the lucrative Brown Library.
Lucrative.
It's lucrative, yes.
I've stolen a few books. I've sold them.
They give me lots of money.
Yeah.
So in the Brown Library this month, I'm addressing a unit, actually, oddly enough, from an army that I play fairly regularly, which is Tau.
Okay.
Which I actually have not used as a subject yet on one of our episodes.
Okay. Well, I'd love to hear a little bit more about the mysterious blue people.
Okay, well, this actually involves very few blue people, surprisingly.
Ooh, interesting.
There's a little known-of unit in Tau. I mean, I would challenge you to tell me about a story of actually playing against these.
Okay.
You may know where I'm getting at.
I think I have a guess.
They're these insectoid type things.
Yes. The little, I believe they're called vespids?
Vespid, yes.
Yes.
Vespid stingwings. They are...
I don't even know. Do they have a last name?
Stingwings, yeah. Vespid stingwings. That's their,
I'm John Stingwing. This is my wife, Martha Stingwing.
It's probably more like...
Yeah. Don't they have universal translators, right?
Well, see, actually, that's an interesting story going back into their fluff.
Oh, wow. Excellent.
So
I'm psychic. I didn't tell anybody this yet, but it's a good time to reveal it, so here we go.
All right. Well, I mean, you may have the Inquisition coming after you, but I mean...
Yeah, I think Greg's making a phone call right now, so we should...
let's wrap this up.
We should do this. We should do this.
So the Vespid come from a gas giant planet, because you may not know this with Tau, but Tau are almost the only species to essentially they're not species racist, I guess you would call it. They allow other species to be part of their culture.
They're like, hey, everybody, come on, kumbaya.
Now, a lot of the time, they're very forceful about it, which is like, I mean, it wouldn't be 40K if you weren't forceful.
which is racist, I mean, I guess. I don't know.
Sort of like our way or the highway. I guess it's more like evangelical, sort of. Like,
kind of. So they're just like hardcore guilting a race into working with them?
Yeah, basically, like, if you don't believe in the greater good, you're an asshole, and you don't want to be an asshole.
That's like a passive-aggressive, massive guilt trip technique. It's come on, I mean, I guess if you want to be a dick and just do your own thing and not help, the rest of your galaxy, I guess. I mean, just be selfish, right? They're like, fine.
I mean, I'm convinced that the Tau negotiators, that's just what they do.
That's their
just go to a planet.
Just hardcore guilt a race.
Just guilt them into, fine, okay, God, I signed it, there.
All right, we'll send our ships.
But so they have there's a lot of different races, including races not included in the Codex that are part of their culture that they've assimilated with. And the Vespid were a relatively new one after the most well-known Kroot, essentially.
Yes, the chicken people.
Space chickens.
Love the space chickens.
In 40K, the chickens eat you.
I'd love to see more space chickens. Games Workshop, please.
Yes, give us space chickens. But so they live on this gas planet and a gas giant. So they're
they live on a gas giant?
They live in the atmosphere of a gas giant.
Oh, they just like kind of fly around.
So yeah, so it's like they have these little wings, like little. They're very insectoid. I mean, they look like bipedal humanoid insects. And they have these tiny little chitinous wings that, like, apparently are like a bee. Like, it's not like, say, like tyrannids, which are kind of like space insects, but they have, like, big, like, membranous wings, like bats and stuff like that. These actually have, like rapidly flapping wings, only because the atmosphere that they're used to is, like, lower gravity and all this other stuff, so they can support themselves on these wings.
Okay, cool.
It's very, actually, Avatar-esque, as in James Cameron Avatar-esque as well. There's, like, floating islands and all this other stuff. So they like nest.
Not a bad life on this gas giant.
No, it's actually pretty cool. So the Tau encountered them and immediately had problems communicating. because
I didn't prepare for buzzes and clicks. Damn it.
That's almost exactly right. They essentially got there, and there was immediate language barriers because the way they phonetically communicate with each other is entirely different, and there's almost a sub-telepathy as well between them.
Oh, wow.
With like the higher, like almost queen status vespid and the underlings. I mean, it's not a full hive culture. They're like very much still in a sense independent, but like they're evolving out of their hive culture.
They're like worker bees with opinions.
Yes, exactly. That's actually a fantastic description. That's very close to what they are.
Like, yeah, I'm gonna raise honey all day, but I'm not really liking it.
So the Tau wanted to not only bring them into fold, the whole push the greater good, blah blah blah
Right.
blah blah, but they also had a valuable resource on their planet, which was these crystals, these essentially resonating crystals that have they can contain huge amounts of energy, super rare. So
Trying to create
like,
their own fire prisms. Stupid Tau.
exactly.
I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, so these crystals, they want to establish trade as well. And so if you don't know this, the Tau is broken up into these separate castes. The Tau specifically, the blue people. So they have like the fire caste, which is their warriors. The earth caste, which is their builders, their scientists. The water caste, which is their diplomats.
That's cool.
And negotiators. And then the air caste, which is their transport system. So like they're flyers,
Pilots and stuff.
Pilots. They live primarily in space and stuff like Spaceborne. And
Oh, that's
stuff like
cool.
that. And then the fifth caste, so you have your 4 elemental castes, and then your fifth caste is their ethereals, which are their spiritual leaders. So they send their water caste envoys there to try and negotiate and break the language barrier, and they learn the language to an extent, but through the invention of what's called a communion helm.
A communion helm?
Communion helm.
Okay.
It's a device created by the Earth Caste for the vespid, what's called strain leaders, to wear. Like I was saying, there's like a slight telepathic connection between them. The strain leaders wear these communion masks, and it's like a universal translator for them.
Oh, that's cool.
But there's also kind of like dark history behind this communion helm as well, because the vespid at first were apprehensive about this relationship, and then as soon as these communion helms were made, they were immediately submissive, which may imply that it's actually controlling them versus translating.
Oh, Tau. Come on, guys.
Greater
good.
There's nothing that exactly suggests, or there's no evidence behind this, but it's very...
Of course there isn't any evidence.
Exactly, but it's very suggestive that it may have something to do with it.
Right. We love the Tau people now. It's like, are you sure, John? You were saying the other day. No, love them.
They're great. Great or good,
Never taking off
Thumbs
the
up.
helmet. Never.
So I know I've always had a fascination with these guys. I've wanted to use them for a long time. I think their history's really cool. They actually they're a bit expensive cost-wise. Not necessarily, I mean, money cost. Most things are expensive that relates.
Look, guys, if you're playing this hobby, you spend a little bit of money.
You spend a little bit of money, but in-game wise, they're like 5 points more than a Space Marine, which is costly.
That is, yeah.
But what they bring to the table is actually quite interesting. They're jump infantry. The movement is the name of the game in 40k.
Oh yeah.
So being
gotta
jump
get those
infantry,
objectives, man.
But they also have move through cover, which means that they can be jump infantry and go into terrain and not have to worry about dangerous terrain tests.
That's awesome.
Which is really great. And they can deep strike into terrain and not give a shit. They have stealth ruins, which majority of cover is
so they're just dancing between ruins. They're just we do not give a fuck.
Which actually, which is one of the reasons I like them, is because it reflects their fluff. Like, they're in this gas giant planet, and they're used to, with these little wings, being able to fly through these crags and these floating islands and stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
It makes sense that they'd be able to do this. And
clearly,
then,
pilots need to train on this gas giant.
Exactly. I mean, like, that you'd think like they would use them as like a training resource. I mean, it's a little different because these are natural appendages, so they're like it's different than wearing like a jetpack, but like
a little different.
But you'd think that like that's actually a good like observation, is that like crisis suit pilots or just battle suit pilots with their jump shoot jump would be a good thing to actually train on Vespid, planet Vespid.
That'd be pretty sweet
to learn this tactic. They also have hit and run.
Really?
And they're initiative 6.
Whoa.
So
that's pretty good.
So it's
there's a pretty high chance.
You can only fail on a 6.
Exactly.
So and surprisingly, like in combat, they'll go first against most anything in the game.
Yeah, I mean, initiative 6 is high.
So that's impressive. And then surprisingly as well, they have combat armor. So they have a 4+ armor save just base.
Oh, wow.
And then the real gem, now they're only
That exoskeleton, right? They're like big bugs.
Well, they actually, like with the Tau, them being part of Tau.
Oh, do they have equipment?
They have equipment. Like, they've given
cool.
them specially fitted armor that fits on them specifically, along with the communion helms for their strain leaders. They've managed to take the crystal that's harvested on their planet and utilize it in a weapon unique to them. And it's called a neutron blaster.
Neutron blaster.
And it's actually pretty nasty. It's an 18-inch range, strength 5 AP3 one-shot weapon.
Oh, wow. Space Marine killer.
Space Marine killer.
That's not bad.
And so, because they're jump infantry with an 18-inch range, that means they essentially have a 30-inch threat radius, which is actually quite a bit, especially when they can just freely go 12 inches in ruins. I don't give a shit. Just whoop, 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 whoop.
Just bounce it around. And yeah, drop them in ruins. Have no, never mind about what's out there. You're going to have some, especially because cover, right? Stealth in ruins. They're going to have 3 ups. Ruins,
3 ups in cover.
That's awesome.
And I mean, they could go to ground and get 2 ups. So it's just like, they're actually surprisingly not bad. And their weapon skill is, like a 3. It's low, like most Tau stuff is, because they don't focus on close combat. But I mean, with an initiative 6, I mean, they will swing before Space Marines.
What's their strength like?
I mean, the strength is 3.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that they could put a couple wounds in first after Space Marine Killer Overwatch.
Yeah.
And then just hit and run out of combat is actually makes them really hard to nail down.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, pretty nasty.
So I was like, I want to do a list based on these guys. They sound pretty freaking cool.
Build out a Jeff Goldblum army from The Fly.
Yeah, oh, wow. I did not make that connection.
Whoa.
Jeff Goldblum, The Fly with guns.
Look, when you said humanoid fly people, it's the first thing I thought of. Look, he died at the end of the movie. Spoiler alert. Sorry, everybody. But if he had continued on, we know he would have created a vespid race of fly people, right?
This is a certain thing?
Yeah, this is a thing, for sure. I mean, this is fact, man.
This is canon.
This is canon. This is fly canon. Jeff Goldblum canon.
In an alternate universe, a fake Jeff Goldblum fly person fled Earth to a planet called Vespid and created his own insectoid race.
That's absolutely right. I believe it's in the Fluff of Tau. I think it was like at the bottom of the page. It's fine. Don't check.
Oh, the fine print. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. But nobody checked, though. Just take my word for it.
All right. Yeah. I will. I just did.
Good. Thank God.
All right. So this list that I came up with is it's actually kind of... It's a little silly. I mean, it's going to be a little silly.
Yeah.
But we're shooting at the 1850 point range. You'll be able to see the list on our website.
Yep.
In the show notes. In the show notes. But what the core of the army is, of course, it's 2 combined armed detachments, because it's how you get the most vespid, essentially.
Got to get more vespid for your buck, man.
Yeah, more vespid. The more vespid, the better it is.
Oh, yeah.
I tried to get 6 units of vespid in, but it is very expensive.
It's a lot of vespid.
So I have 4 units that are maxed out.
Okay.
And
what's the max on them?
They have 12. They can get 12.
Jeez. I thought you were going to say like 10 or something.
No, so they can actually get 12 guys in a unit. 12 strength 5 AP3 shots is nothing to scoff at.
That's a lot of bugs.
That, and I mean, high mobility and sticking in cover. I mean, they're great objective grabbers. I mean, they're just surprisingly not terrible.
Oh, yeah. Crystal weapons. They're going to bejewel and bedazzle anyone they kill, which is pretty sweet.
Would you prefer it any other way?
I wouldn't. I mean,
so that's the core of the army is that. I mean, it's going to be themed around that. Then, like, how do you make it work with that? Obviously, they're only like an anti-infantry element, and they're 4 units is about 1,000 points. So, because a full 12-man unit is actually 226 points. So it's a bit on the expensive side.
That is an expensive squad.
But then what fills in the rest of the army is that your troops, I chose as Farsight so that you could take crisis suits as troops. So your troops are just 4 units of 2 crisis suits that all have double fusion. There's your anti-tank source, essentially.
Oh, okay,
because
cool.
you have plenty of anti-infantry stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then your HQs are just 2 stock commanders with missile pods and marker drones, and they attach to marker squad. So, like, essentially, it's like, I count this as the paint delete army.
Yeah.
Where it's like the commander just paints a unit, the Vespids pounce in.
And kill them.
Use the marker lights, and just remove that. Next turn, paint another target, move in. Remove.
This is almost very close to what you were saying about how they're, more submissive with the helmets on, because it's like, putting
the commander's pointing.
It's like putting a light somewhere and like the bugs just fly at the light and delete it.
And so it's like, that's what I was thinking of. I was like, it's a bug zapper army.
Poor Vespids. The bug zapper team. You know what? And with the crisis suits going with them, it does match that fluff of if they're on some kind of training group with these Vespids.
Exactly. I mean, the Vespids would be showing them up left and right with regards to the movement.
Look, Vespid Flight School, man, it's fucking tough.
But the cool
Maverick, Goose, they're failing left and right. No Top Gun. No Top Gun in Vespid School.
I mean, I think that should be then the name of the two HQs should just be Maverick and Goose.
I think so.
Or they should be competing, and it could be Maverick and Iceman.
Ooh, I like it. I mean, he can be his wingman anytime. So, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense.
I love how you tied that in.
Yes. Look, anytime I can throw in Top Gun trivia, I will. All right, it's just going to happen.
I mean, I'll be ready for it.
All right.
So the cool thing about the army, too, is that everything is either jump, shoot, jump, or jump infantry, so it's all mobile.
Fast as hell.
You know, I was like trying to shave off a little extra points and put in something actually kind of interesting, something I've never used, like most of the Farside Enclave's special items, which the majority pointless. But
like a lot of special items.
Like a lot of special items.
Let's be honest. I'm Eldar, and we've got some cool ones, but most of them are pretty crappy.
Yes, and way expensive.
Super
it's
expensive.
Just like, so I had 50 points to spare, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take this 45-point thing.
Oh my god!
But
what does it do?
It does something actually pretty cool. It's called a seismic fibrillator node.
What a weird name for whatever that is.
So what it does is, from the unit that's carrying it, which is one of the commanders,
Maverick, Iceman.
I'm going to say Iceman
All
has
right.
it because he has to be closer, which means that we're willing to sacrifice him because we want Maverick.
We want Maverick to live.
Let's be honest, Maverick is the warlord.
Yes. And Iceman's, he's the wingman. So
he's his wingman anytime.
So he's going to be a little bit more flashier. He's going to have the seismic,
fibrillator
node, dingabobber. Yeah,
dingabobber. Yes,
makes sense.
So what this thing does is actually kind of crazy. When you decide to use it, you roll a die. On a 1, it craps out, unfortunately, and it's one-time use. But on a 2+, it makes a 36-inch radius bubble.
What?
So anything within 36 inch of the guy holding
that guy,
it makes all terrain difficult and all difficult terrain dangerous.
Oh no!
For a full turn.
That sucks.
So it like further reinforces this training thing where it's like making the terrain like shit for everybody else.
So it's like we've trained in a hardcore environment, now we're gonna make the environment we're in hardcore for our enemies. So
exactly.
This is what we trained for.
Yeah. And so then, I mean, you do that, the Vespid's still just doing their thing. They don't give a shit. They just go. Like, because everything else on the enemy team has to either roll through difficult terrain, or that's the beauty of it. If they're already in terrain, they have to roll dangerous terrain tests at the end of their turn.
Sucks.
And then it can actually keep going.
Really?
If you
is it like you roll higher each turn?
You have to on the after the first turn that you do it. It's on a 1 to 4 it ceases. On a 5+ it continues. And as long as you keep rolling 5+, it keeps going.
Oh, so it doesn't even get harder than that. I was gonna think the next round is gonna be like a 6+ or something.
No, it's just a 5+ continues.
That's
5+
super annoying.
Continues. So like that against certain armies is actually really dangerous. Like even just jump armies, like armies that normally rely on just getting there. I mean, you think about it like this, like bike armies. Bikes normally ignore the effects of difficult terrain, but if they end in difficult terrain, they have to take dangerous terrain tests. This makes everything on the board difficult, which means suddenly they're all taking dangerous terrain tests wherever they go.
That's brutal. So bikes.
Yeah, so I was like, man, this is actually kind of interesting, and it follows the fluff.
And I love the fluff of it basically taking their crazy training environment to the battlefield.
Yeah, these are the high-speed jetpack maneuvering squads.
Insect ninjas, guys. We wanted it. We just didn't know we wanted it.
Yes, and now we have it.
Yes.
They are firing energy shurikens.
They're shooting crystals, people. Crystals. It's cool.
So that's it. I mean, that I'm actually kind of excited to try this. It could work actually quite well.
Yeah, I love it. It sounds awesome. All right, well, that was our Brown Library segment, everyone. We're gonna get out of here. Greg is calling in the solitaires. We gotta go. All right, guys, that takes us on to our next segment. Takes us to our next segment. Special effects budget on this show, guys.
Yeah,
very high.
Out of this world.
So this takes us to our last segment, the Dakka of Dakkas. So Andrew, what is the comment out there on the Dakka forums that we come to this week.
Okay, so I was asking the community, essentially, like, what are everybody's thoughts on Vespid? And, I mean, without saying... There is, everybody loved them. They were like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just nothing pretty much.
What a surprise.
Nothing pretty much but animosity towards them. And then there was actually, I'm going to take a quote that's a positive note as a different change.
That'd be nice, guys. Let's, for the holidays.
So one commenter said, Vespid are one of those things that people overlooks because everybody sees them as, there's a better version of these.
Right. It's always this does that, but with more things.
Oh, yeah. It's like, well, I could take those, or I could just take this, which is way better.
Right.
But then he was like, but one thing that most people ignore that these bring to the table, one is an anti-assault unit. Mm-hmm. They make quite a good assault team with hit and run and initiative 6 and space marine removers. But as well, they also bring something that Tau doesn't have to the table, which is fast infantry.
Oh, yeah.
Because jetpacks, yeah, they're quick and all, but it's random distance, which means you could just move 6 inches in the movement phase and then roll a 2 in the assault phase. Or you could get caught, which then you're never going to use it. You just get assaulted and it's not going to happen. And I was like, and so this person basically brought up a very good point, which is, people should actually reconsider this unit if they're having problems with assault armies.
And guys, Jeff Goldblum and his children are worth it.
His deep descendants.
His deep descendants of Jeff
40,000
Goldblum.
years in the future.
Nobody check on this fact. It is true. All right, guys. Well, that was episode 5 of Roll to Seize. We'll be posting a new episode every month. If you'd like to download more episodes or check out other similar podcasts like Because Comics and Blockbuster Punch-Up, head over to partialarc.com. That's arc with a C. Of course, you can email us any questions at rolltoseize@gmail.com. Or, of course, you can head to the DakkaDakka.com forums and check out the Roll to Seize blog and share your own seizes of the month. Thanks for listening, and your fun fact for the month is...
In the 40K universe, the dream world is an actual place.
The dream world is an actual place?
Yeah, apparently the warp is also composed of dreams, so like...
Wait, so when you dream, you go into the warp?
Apparently.
That's fucking terrifying.
At least like a small piece of you.
So now we know why Space Marines don't eat. It's probably so that they don't get tired and sleep, because you apparently go to fucking...
Wouldn't you just get tired from not eating as well?
Look, man, my science is sound, okay?
Science!
Science!